and the other two may join in. So I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. The first thing we'll do is adopt the agenda. Do I hear a motion to adopt the agenda as is? Are there any changes?
So moved.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, and now we're going to look at the minutes from our last meeting, September 21st. Did anyone have any corrections to those?
I did not see any.
I didn't see any either. I move to approve as typed.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, thank you, Stephanie. Those minutes were great. All right, and now before we get to public comments, I want to recognize our superintendent, Dr. Jarita Postlewaite, that is with us tonight. And I'm going to turn the floor over to you.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank all of you for letting me join you this evening. It's been a while since I've met with constituent boards, and certainly a while since I've met with the District 2 board. So thanks for your graciousness in allowing me to join you this evening. We want to honor Sarah Shad Johnson as she cycles off the board. So we want to show you a picture of the plaque that we have for you, Sarah.
Oh, wow.
If someone wants to put screen share and add that. Thank you for your dedication and commitment to the Moultrie Constituent School District 2 Board of Trustees. So we have a plaque that shows your chairmanship, and it shows that you were District 2 Board of Trustees member from 2016 to 2020. So,
Oh,
I see it. I see it.
Very nice.
Thank you very much. Let's see.
yeah.
So, Terry, do you want to make some comments?
Yes, Sarah, I'm so glad that I had the privilege of working with you. You made me a better CCSD employee while working with you on the board. You brought a sense of real organization sometimes and some real thoughtful thinking, and I really appreciate that. I really appreciate also the way that you really took seriously all of the matters that came before you. They are very serious, and you really spent the time and energy that it took. Put a lot of energy into it, and I really appreciate all that you've done, and I certainly enjoyed working with you those few years that I did. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Terry. And you were there when I first started, so we still always say, ask Terry Nichols, she knows everything.
Or at least I act like you do, right?
I'm putting the staff on the spot, so thank you for that, Terry. Jeff, you want to go next?
So what Terry said is spot on. The time that we've had to work together has been, I think, really good, and I think a lot of that has to do with your professionalism, Sarah, and ability to stay focused on the target. We had, I think, a very good relationship. You challenged us when we needed to be challenged, and you were also very respectful of the time and effort to put together information, and that's big. You know, we have in my time working with constituent boards, sometimes they want things yesterday and don't understand the challenges of putting together information, pertinent information. And your questions and the information you've requested was always a necessity. When I looked at it and said, yeah, that's a really good question, that's really good information that she's asking for her board. And so I really valued our relationship, and I wish you all the best in your future endeavors, and hope we get the opportunity to work together again.
Well, that means a lot to me, Jeff, and thank you for working with our board, because we know constituent boards, they're crazy to deal with, and we know we've been there at 11 o'clock at night, and you've reminded us, and when the lights went out. So I appreciate it was fun, and I appreciate your the conversations that we had, and all the work that we did together. And it was really great to have the chief operating officer right there with us when we did those massive rezonings. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, Carolyn. I didn't want to leave you out. It's so wonderful to have you now working with District 2.
It's a tough act to follow, the people ahead of me. I love that the circle's coming with Terry coming back on the board as like the newest member of CCSD. That's who I go to ask questions. And also feel like, Ms. Johnson, thank you for the opportunity to work with you. I said it, I think, almost the first meeting. It's very hard to handle some of the things that you handle that are very sensitive and personal to families. And you always facilitate those meetings with empathy and respect, and do it in such a lovely way that, you know, I don't think any family wants to be here, but I think you do a good job of making sure that families are treated very, very well. So appreciated the chance to learn and excited to see what happens next. I can't even imagine what this board will be like without your leadership.
I'll always be around, but Carolyn, I really appreciate you working with our board too, to have the, you know, chief academic officer, especially with restarting school. So, I mean, it was like we had firsthand, you explained everything step by step as we went along. And you were just like number one with follow-up. And I think we all know that when, like, you know, after a meeting, we get an email, there it is. So we appreciate your work with our board team.
Thank you. And I want to add my special thanks. It's been a real joy getting to know you and being so impressed that a member of the community so very much about our system. So we look forward to continuing work together with you. We know this will not be the close of your involvement, just your particular input in this special role. So thank you again for everything you've done. You've been a great representative of your constituents, and we look forward to more years of working together.
Well, thank you so much for coming to our meeting and talking with us. And we know the real lady of the hour is the Miss Belk, who I'm looking at, who's been on this board for longer than I've had kids. So.
Okay, so that's the perfect segue into the plaque that we have for Marty. Marty, congratulations on the completion of an astounding legacy of 27 years of service. So your plaque was special made. There's not another one like it. It shows, shows the map of Moultrie Constituent District 2. It shows all of the schools, and over your service to the board, every single one of those schools has either been built brand new or it has undergone a tremendous renovation during your time. So this is a plaque to commemorate your years of service when you chaired the board, and your years of service to the people of Constituent District 2 with all of the various schools. From you touched children from pre-kindergarten to post-high school. There are truly, I mean, literally generations of young people with their children who have had the benefit of your service. So we wanted you to have this very special plaque. And again, each of us would like to say a little something. Terry?
Thank you, Dr. Postaway. Marty, that's a beautiful plaque.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
I don't know really where to begin, but I know that 27 years ago, when you started on the board, I was a principal and a principal at Bell Hall Elementary, and you remember
That's
that.
right.
And you, I was always in awe of the board and a little bit scared, but you always made me feel really welcome. And back in the day, that the board would ask for the principals to come and do a presentation. And so we were always nervous about that, about coming to do a presentation in front of the board. It was scary. And then we got to know the board, and they were just so helpful all the time. And then the segue into stepping in after Dr. Linda Davis stepped off the board, and to have the opportunity to work with the board was really awesome. We worked in our little constituent district office and had the meetings around that table and around the table in what was the Associate Superintendent Dr. Davis's office, and then later I had that office, and sometimes till late at night.
Oh yeah.
Really, really difficult cases, heart-wrenching cases, and I can say that sometimes, Marty, you went on and talked a lot during those meetings. And sometimes I would have to say, Marty. Okay. And then I remember I had all these different tactics. Marty, when I point to the clock, that means you need to stop. She would say, okay, okay. And she never listened to anything, none of those suggestions ever. But I understand why she did that, because she really had some things that she wanted to say, and she took the time to make the parents and the students feel special. And she really did not rush to in any of her decisions. They were very, very, very well thought out. She served the constituents of Mount Pleasant and the Isle of Palms and Sullivan's Island, the whole East Cooper area, very, very well. And there's, you never know, Marty. I keep telling you, we're going to do a write-in campaign, and I know your husband will just shoot me, but for that. But anyway, I just want to say thank you for being who you are and being a friend for all these years while I was a principal and while I also served as the associate superintendent and helped with the board in District 2. Thank you. Well-deserved honor.
Oh, well,
Thank you.
should I say anything now or wait?
Jeff and Carolyn also want to make some comments, and then the floor is yours.
Okay, that's fine.
So I don't even know where I was 27 years ago. So I'll just say it has been amazing to see you operate, Marty. And when I say that, I mean, as Terry said, you would launch into a story on occasion, but I always took a step back and said, anybody who's been doing this for as many years as you have and still has the heart to put into it, just it would blow me away every time. And although I'd roll my eyes when you'd ask the kid, you know who Dale Earnhardt is? And I go, oh boy, she's going into a racing story. The kid's got no idea at the start of it. But again, I always pulled back and said, for somebody that cares that much and that deeply, to keep putting that much heart and effort into it is phenomenal. And for the other aspect of what you've done and what you've continued to do is, folks like yourselves and like Terry, all of us have we don't know the history. We don't have the corporate knowledge of this district, but you always knew what had happened years ago, and we have to learn from our mistakes just as well as we have to take advantage of what we did before and do it again if it was right. And you always had that answer. What did we do 5 years ago? What did we do 10 years ago? Well, how did we handle this 15 years ago? Because that corporate knowledge has dwindled as folks have retired and moved on. And so I really valued that expertise and knowledge that you had and brought to the table in those circumstances. So I wish you all the best, and I hope we see you around Mount Pleasant. You still are more than welcome at our dedication ceremonies. I hope to see you again at those as we bring on new facilities for the district, because you have been that much of a part of it, just like that map showed, and will continue to be in the future. So thanks for everything, Marty.
Oh, thank you.
Carolyn.
I would keep it very brief, but to say that I realizing that you've been on this board for 27 years, I think I'm so impressed by your learning orientation. When you went to Daniel Jenkins and Liberty Hill, you asked a ton of questions. You're always trying to learn how to do it better. You'd think after 27 years you could phone it in, but that's not how you think about kids and about this work. And so grateful that I could say that I was part of your legacy, even if for a few short months. So, and as I joke, I feel like we owe you a retirement at this level, but I guess we don't do that for volunteer positions.
Marty, I hope you heard all of that heartfelt outpouring of gratitude, appreciation, and actually admiration for what you've done. And the floor is yours.
Well, thank you. My goodness. I have to say this. This has been one interesting career. And as my husband has always said, this is voluntary, Marty. You need to remember that. And, but it was my way. Of course, I didn't know it was going to go on 27 years. and I certainly was not counting, but it was my way of giving back to my community. And education has always been on the forefront for for our family. And it didn't stop. It started with our daughter in first grade at Sullivan's Island, and from then on, Fleming Harris just pushed me and pushed me and pushed me, and I ended up on the constituent board and had no idea what in the world I was to do. And you talking about being nervous. I was very nervous because I missed a PTA meeting, and I ended up being nominated for president of the PTA, and that taught me never to miss a meeting again. And from there, I went to the constituent board. So it's been very, very rewarding. And all of you, what you all have said has just been, I wish I would have thought about recording it and going back and hearing it later and making me feel good. It was a hard decision, and I called it retirement because this has been a long time, and I felt like I've never quit anything, never. And the word quit is not in this family's vocabulary, so I had to come up with something. And my husband said he just got off of the board of trustees for the College at Charleston, and he's had some health issues. So this is working. He's doing better, but this is, the right timing. And you all probably know exactly what I mean by that. And so he came up with the word retire. And so that's why I said that. But each one of you means so much to me, and you'll never be forgotten. And I appreciate the invitation for any of the dedications. I certainly would love to still be a part. And I told everybody, if there's any problem anywhere, I don't know what I could do, but call me, and I'll still be available. And I have to say this. Yes, Jeff, we had the eye movements and everything, and Terry certainly tried to help me shorten everything like I'm trying to do right now, but you just don't have any idea how much heart was in these 27 years. And so maybe I did ignore Terry a little bit, maybe, and Jeff maybe, but it was from the heart and not from being stubborn or I want my way, because that just didn't happen. But and the board members that are on there now, I wish you all the best. I wish the district the best. There's so much on the district's plate. And I wish everyone the best, and especially the board. I'm working on a write-in. I hope. I told her to tell her husband to call me, and she would be wonderful. So hopefully everything will go very smoothly without me and Sarah. And it has definitely been a wonderful journey. And I have to show you something. Let's see if I can do this right. Just have a little bit of patience. I have a brand new kitchen. It's almost taken a year to build. So I'm in the kitchen, and look, how can I do this? I am not tech savvy. See that? See that? See those gorgeous flowers?
Those are beautiful.
They are absolutely, and Flower Cottage, I love. Can y'all all see them?
Yes.
Yeah, they're really
Yeah.
good.
Well, and my zebra. But anyway, I I cried. I never thought I would do that. When he delivered them, I guess it was about 4:30 when he delivered them, and I'm like, who in the world are these from? And he just smiled. He had to verify I was Marty Belk, and he just smiled. And then I saw Flower Cottage, and they're one of my favorites. And of course, I love flowers. I don't know who knew that, but they're gorgeous. I appreciate it so much. I took a picture because Donnie is out of town. I took a picture and I sent it to all my family, all his family, and everybody else. So I want to thank you all, District 2. I don't know who sent them or if all of you were in on it. I don't care. I just appreciate them so much, and they mean more than you'd ever know. Thank you.
Love you, Marty.
Oh, thank you. I love you too, honey.
Marty, you'll be able to go back and watch this video. You can show Donnie, because this is on CCSD's YouTube station. You know, it's recorded. Actually, this is live. It's recorded like our other meetings. So you'll be able, as long as that's archived there, you'll be able to get that. You might be able to download it some way. And I was also going to let you know, it's not your last night. Just know that. We have to meet again next week. So we'll talk about that later.
Oh, serious.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, I had the caveat there with Don. I said, well, unless, he said, no. I said, well, it could be, you know, we might have something come up. And I laughed, but we really do.
You really do. So you predicted it.
Oh my goodness. Well, Jared, I want to tell you and Terry, Carolyn's always with us, but thank you so much for taking your time tonight to honor both Sarah and I. We really do appreciate it. And we always have something to say, you know that. And we have issues that come up with District 2 that probably don't come up with any other district, because each district has its own needs. So just remember that if you know, when you do get something, you know it's been a letter or whatever you might get, it's been well thought out, as Terry knows for sure. And it's not because we don't appreciate District 2. It's because we love District 2 and Charleston County School District. Isn't that right, Sarah?
All right, it's on mute. Yes, we do. We do it for the kids. We do it for the schools. We do it for our community. So it's,
That's right. That's right.
we don't know why we do it, but we do it.
And we're just glad that you do it. So that's good.
Yeah, Marty, you'll have to let us know about this mystery write-in candidate at some point in case we need to write, you know, spread the word, because it would be a lot easier than filling a vacancy.
Oh, I told her that I was going to turn my cards from the school district, you know, like a business card that we have. I said, I'm going to turn that card over and I'm writing your name on it because it's not an easy name to spell. And I'm going to hand it out to everybody. And I thought I had her talked into it today, but she's got to talk with the husband. Can you imagine? And so, you know, I have to wait because I want her, if she decides to do it, Pamela, Kristen, Trey, she will fit in perfectly. And she's got a lot to learn, but, you know, y'all did too. Still learning, and I'm still learning. So I'll let you know.
Yeah, keep us posted because people are voting already.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
Dr. Pestle, wait, did you want to say anything else?
No,
I think I better be done. Oh, okay.
Okay, or I didn't know if there were questions. I know at one point we talked about inviting the superintendent to one of our meetings just for general questions, but that might be once we have new, you know, new board members that might make more sense when we start off after November.
Yeah.
I think that would be a good idea.
Because Carolyn and others were thoughtful enough to invite me to join with you this evening. So thank you for letting me participate in this very, very special occasion.
So thank you so much for coming on and for the plaques. I can't wait to actually see it. And it's really neat.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Dr. Postlewaite.
Thank
I
you.
love mine. It's beautiful.
All right, let me ask Stephanie, did we have any public comments that came in through email?
We did not have any public comment for this meeting.
All right, so we will skip that, and we put our hardships at the end since that's going to be an executive session. And so our next item is the student transfer request procedures, and that's the letter we've kind of been talking about for a couple of months, I think, or whenever we started processing transfer requests and getting information in on the appeals. So I sent board members, and Trey, hey, I see you there. So you didn't say hey, but I know you're there. See your name. And so we talked about the letter last time, and wanted to make it more a sort of not like a complete long formal annual report like we used to do in years past, but kind of more like, let's just deal with that one issue. And we needed to get more information, so we asked CCSD to give us that one-page report on our transfer request. And I think it's really helpful to have that in one page, like everyone gets that, right, in their package. And so I had drafted a letter and I sent it to y'all over the weekend and then updated it. So I don't know if you got the updated letter, the fine-tuned letter, just kind of thank you to Pamela's suggestions, just gave it a little bit more bite, and we inserted those actual numbers that we received from the report. So I'm gonna read. I want to read it into the record, but we might need to do it paragraph by paragraph. Unless at the start, if any of you know right away, oh, there's something really wrong with this paragraph, or you got a big typo right there. So were there any big changes that I can kind of note before I dive into this?
I didn't see anything grammatically, but sometimes things pop out when you read it again. So that might be a good way of doing it.
And actually, that's what happened. Like right before this meeting, I kind of was looking at something already, sort of a grammatical error that I corrected, but okay, so we'll just go by paragraph, which I'll say, yeah, it doesn't sound, we need to change something, let me know. So, you see, I've already got the wrong date at the top. All right, so anyway, letter to the CCSD Board of Trustees. The Moultrie Constituent District 2 Board of Trustees is hereby submitting a report and recommendations regarding student transfer request procedures so that we can collaborate on an improved system for our students and schools. All right.
Okay.
And when I talk about the report, that's just the one-page report we got this weekend. The attached report shows statistics for the student transfer request the District 2 Board has received to date for the 2020-2021 school year. District 2 receives the most student transfer requests in the county, and our board works diligently to recognize hardships that warrant transfer to another school, most of which are overcrowded. Our frequent school rezoning decisions and student transfer decisions are linked because we continuously work to balance the assignment of students to our schools to avoid overcrowding. All right, and y'all just stop me if you say, whoa, something's wrong with that. All right, next paragraph. For the 2020-2021 school year, we decided on specific student transfer protocols for 3 schools with capacity concerns. These protocols were relayed to your board, and we were consistent with our rulings. The high number of decisions that your board overturns is concerning and will continue to have a negative effect on our schools, forcing us to rezone more often than necessary. That was a change I did from what I sent y'all. I think that said more often instead of sooner. We don't want to be doing this every year. Anyway, next paragraph. Since Beckham High is a new school with new attendance lines, we limited transfer approvals to students with significant hardships and children of employees who work at the school. Beckham High has a capacity of 1,500, and we will continue to monitor enrollment closely over the next 2 years as the grade levels are added. According to the report, 52 Beckham High appeals were filed, and your board overturned all 52 of them, pushing the 9th and 10th grade enrollments to 733. Those numbers are just, actually that enrollment number, I think we got a 12-day count. That's where that came from.
Yes.
Right. We worked on this high school We worked on this high school zoning for 2 years and had to make tough decisions about which pockets of District 2 to include or exclude, some with a student count at around the same number. Overturning 52 cases before Beckham High opened undermined our decisions about attendance lines and did a huge disservice to the students who live in the area and were not zoned for the school. And just as a reminder, you remember our puzzle pieces with the same people we said no to, that many people from other places got in. All right, next paragraph. This is a long letter, but this is sort of our annual report. Instead of this moves on to Carolina Park. Instead of capping enrollment at Carolina Park Elementary, we decided to rezone the school for the short-term relief and recommend prioritizing their building expansion for the long-term relief. A copy of our June 29, 2020 letter is attached. For this year's transfer request, we decided to approve only students with significant hardships and students whose parents worked there or across the street at Wando. These limited transfer parameters will need to continue until the school is expanded. Okay, next paragraph. Mount Pleasant Academy is next on our list to rezone due to being over capacity again. So we used a transfer protocol similar to the one for Carolina Park Elementary. Due to COVID-19, we will refrain from rezoning during this school year, but the school remains at the top of our rezoning priority list. We will need to continue to limit transfers into this school until it is rezoned. Next paragraph. Finally, we wanted to bring to your attention the increasing number of students from the St. James Santee Elementary Middle attendance zone who seek transfer requests into District 2. For this school year, there were approximately 46 transfer requests. We recommend you examine this rising trend and seek possible solutions to address the issue as it becomes increasingly more difficult to find room for students in District 2 schools. This is a long sentence here. Particularly since Carolina Park Elementary and Cario Middle are at or approaching capacity. And lastly, it says, we present this information in hopes that when you are exercising your appellate duty, your board will have a better understanding of how the District 2 board makes rezoning and transfer decisions to avoid overcrowding. Please let us know if you have any questions about our recommendations. All right, did anything stand out? Did we leave anything out? That was a long letter, but I think it covered those 3 issues. And I did notice this year that there were not so many overturned cases at Carolina Park and Mount Pleasant Academy. This year, the main problem was Beckham, but other years it has been those 2 schools as well. Not that.
Sarah, I just have a question.
Yes.
Comment. Will it matter? Does it matter at all that Mount Pleasant Academy's enrollment went down this year? Because I think it was probably all COVID related. So they're like under what they normally are enrolled.
Well, they're still over 500. They're 5. I didn't put it in the letter because
it may just, those children may be back, the ones that.
Right. I will say, Terry, to that, just because I have so many friends whose kids go to Mount Pleasant Academy and my daughter just graduated from there last year, I would say most of those children went to private schools, and they probably will be back next year. But I can name probably half a dozen people off the top of my head who basically had to make decisions before school reopened for the sake of jobs. So they went to the private schools around here.
Yeah, that's correct. I know some as well, and so I think it's just an odd year for them.
Right.
Because of COVID and all.
They were definitely one of the ones that showed the largest decrease because of that.
That is interesting to know too. But I know I went back to Toshiba's email with the 12-day enrollment. I know Mount Pleasant Academy was over 500, but I mean, and we talked about this when we rezoned Carolina Park Elementary. We kind of have to just look at the area and use our same percentages, because eventually COVID was going to be gone, and we still have to have it. I think that's probably why we feel good that we don't have to rezone Mount Pleasant Academy, because we absolutely 100% sure. I mean, we were going to be, that was this year's project. And we're just not doing it because it's a horrible time to rezone with COVID in this year. Like Terry said, all those students that were there last year are not there. So that time has been bought, but it's still, we still can't just transfer tons and tons of people in that school, and then siblings come through, and then it gets overcrowded again. But yeah, we need to keep a close eye on those counts. What's the next one you do? Let's see, 10, 45, and Terry, isn't there one like in?
Yeah, the big one is like 135.
135.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, mainly we want the big board to get when they look at appeals, it's not just like, oh yeah, there might be some space there. It's like, wait a minute, we just spent 2 years, doing this. There's a lot more to it. So
Right. I think that's, I mean, we also we had a lawsuit from Sullivan's Island, and that the student count in that area in particular, if I remember it correctly, was 87. And so to put in 52 kids is pretty much almost all of Sullivan's Island. And it's, I personally just feel terrible to have said no to a group of kids who are that close, to have them replaced by, and I'm not saying that every child doesn't deserve a shot. It's just, we did the right thing to give a little bit of breathing room, because in 2 years' time, that school could very well be at capacity. And then what?
It will be.
Right.
Yeah,
We'll be calling you, Marty.
Well, what I say.
were you going to say Trey, our Sullivan's Island representative?
While I am a Sullivan's Island representative, I'd say that, as a collective board, we made very strategic and data-backed decisions on why not to include that very small subsect of students, and to see it pretty much, those hours undone, and the granular projections of per class, per geographic area, per year for the next multiple years. We put a lot of thought and effort into making sure that zoning was as safe as possible, given that we don't have the capacity to expand into trailers at Lucy Beckham. That's not approved at the town level. So, I think that, I'm disappointed to see so many students go when we had to make a very divisive and conflicting conversation or decision that impacted a lot of students and families that are, that quite frankly, between Sullivan's Island and all their Palms, at that point, for all intents and purposes, could have been fit into the projections in 4 years. So I think that is frustrating. And I hope that in the future, that a little bit more consideration is given when realizing that there are geographically students that should have been given an opportunity to go there before transfers were approved in. So, I appreciate everything you said, Sarah and Pamela, for helping to communicate those concerns and those efforts to alleviate the unnecessary or potentially more frequent rezoning than would otherwise be necessary had students but not been approved and transferred in, making concerns for our capacity. So that's
Sarah, I have a question, and maybe Carolyn, I don't know if you would have any light to shed on this too, maybe Terry also. Obviously, we feel strongly about the content of this letter, but we know that we're about to, there's an election cycle. So is it in our best interest to wait and to have this letter sent to the new board and to maybe ask for some kind of conversation to be started around it, whether it's to have some of the constituent board members attend one of our meetings to discuss it, or should we send it now? Or should we just, timing wise, I mean, it's a great letter. We'll probably have 45-day numbers at the end of this month. What do you think? Do you think it's more valuable to be sent after the new board is elected or now?
Well, you did ask earlier in our past meeting about the idea of having the conversation with the county board, and I that did go to board officers from the superintendent in the minutes. So I know that that's the plan, and they were planning after the board. I mean, the Mount Pleasant board members are not transitioning, so in some ways there's some continuity in that way. So it really is your call, but we are expecting it could be as many as 5 seats, I think, so that it will be a new board.
Right.
I think you should consider sending it now and after the new board's elected. Maybe.
Okay.
I don't think that would because that way you get Sarah in before Sarah and Marty before they transition off, and then your new board can sign it, and it may, I mean, that's just a suggestion.
Or maybe we send it now because it goes to the board members who did see those appeals, and then it could be slightly modified for a new board to understand that going forward, we would like to continue the conversation.
Potentially, I could see how we showcase it as our concerns from 2020 and things that were of concern, as well as establish it as our priorities for consideration in 2021, and give us the ability to, basically just reiterate and repeat. Maybe it's repeat, but get it both in front of departing board members or potentially returning members. I get that, ideally our representatives would bring it back up, but I think that we cover the bases and just say, hey, these were our concerns for 2020 and what we noticed over this past cycle. And, we'll also plan to present to you our biggest goals and challenges and concerns going into 2021, and set us up to send the same letter again to make sure it's addressed, hopefully.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
What about, go ahead.
Go ahead, Marty.
What about this? I agree. I would send it on now. We've had this experience quite a few times, and we all know where we've gotten with that, or we wouldn't be sending this type of letter again. What about sending it on, and then after the new board is installed, make a presentation at one of their meetings and hand that letter out, or send it early on before the presentation at one of their meetings. And we did that before as well. And, but at least that way, they have had to listen to some of it. And that the letter has been submitted to them, and you've done it in person. Get on their agenda. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
I mean, whether you agree or not, you understand what my process is in thinking of how to make sure everybody gets that letter, whether they read it or not. It's a long letter, and any kind of English class or journalist class or anything like that, they tell you never to go over one page. And there's no way to get this. Am I right?
You're right. You're 100% right.
Yeah. And there's no way.
It probably needs to be about 5 sentences long, to be honest.
That's the truth. That's the truth. And, maybe you could get the main points across at a presentation to them, not all these figures. You could send that to this new board as well as the old board. They definitely need to see it because they're the ones that have done it all. But in the presentation, you can say the very same thing without it being this long. You know what I mean?
Agreed.
That's just a suggestion.
Yeah, I think that's good too. I think definitely, I mean, we talked about this in the last couple of meetings that
ask them to preemptively Pleasant. You hear me?
Whoops.
Say
Sorry
that.
again.
Start over. You kind of went out a little bit.
I was just going to ask, do you think it's worth requesting, from a concern standpoint, that they preemptively explore starting in 2021 with the new board, the possibility of a zoning exception with Mount Pleasant? I mean, I genuinely am concerned that, we were within, less than 50 is what I recall, depending on the factor of attendance live-in, whether we'd need trailers by the first full year of students. So I don't know how long that'll take, but it may be something we need to ask them, and a good reason to present to them why, if we're going to be doing a presentation, to proactively reach out to see if we can get trailer capacity added at Lucy Beckham, because I don't know how we're going to avoid overcrowding in 2 years now. I don't know. I know that's a big statement, but I mean, that's the reality of what too much overcrowding will mean, right?
Our board isn't going to be requesting trailers or decide anything about trailers. We would just make a statement like, look, there's 1,600 kids at Beckham. What are you going to do? But I would just say that, we definitely need to send a letter because we've been talking about it and we wanted it to be sure that it was a report that by this board that all members experience this, so we get it in. And then what the new board wants to do with it, which I wouldn't do anything, right away, because the new board, which there's only 3 incumbents running, so there's going to be at least some new people on that board. District 2 transfers are not going to be on the top of their list.
Right.
It's going to take you get holidays and all that. But I would say definitely before the transfer window to have some sort of something. If it's even like, here, this is what District 2 is using for our, this board's policy, or you do the, I've met, I'm trying to think, Roger, when Roger was vice chair, the two of us met with Kate Darby and down at 75 Calhoun, and we worked out stuff. There's a bunch of different meetings. You can go to a meeting like Marty said, presentation. We used to do these annual reports that were PowerPoints, and the last one we did, no board member came to it. So, there is the problem of how do you get it in front of them and make sure, to me, that would be a meeting and kind of go over it and have a good discussion. But that's for the new board, I think, to decide once, Pamela and Trey and Kristen train them on,
Right.
Hey, we don't know if I'm going to be on the board yet. I still have to pull this off. Okay.
Oh yeah, there's a write-in campaign against you, so.
I believe it.
But are we all in agreement that we send this letter this week?
Agreed. I think, yes, it's a great letter. You encompassed everything. And, Trey, I think that while Beckham is definitely, kind of stands out. I have a really big concern on the whole D1 transfer. It's really going to squeeze us on that end of Mount Pleasant. And let's face it, Cario is getting to capacity, and CPE, we know what we just did, and we can't just stick everybody at Laurel Hill. We should pick me. We can't do that.
And one thing I can say, just what I read about this in another district, and I don't remember if it was Berkeley or Dorchester, but there's a school that there's no transfers this year. It's capped. And we actually considered doing that for Carolina Park Elementary. So that's not that's not anything anyone wants to do, but it does you know, the conversation should be, you know, we don't ever want to get to that. You know, our board is in charge of student assignment, we're planning, and when you overturn all of these, I mean, that's just not the rule that all 50 something from one school would be overturned. That is, you know, it would be like occasionally there would be one overturned because they saw an error in the way we decided. So I'm agreeing with Pamela saying this is a big issue, and Marty and I have seen it. I know Marty's probably seen it even before I was on the board. And not to say, oh, you have to approve, you know, uphold all of our decisions, but it should be most. And there's case law that says that's not, you know, this is not school choice. We had principals of both high schools come to our meetings and said, we are not magnets. This is not going to be school choice. And if it was, we would have handled things, you know, we wouldn't be in this situation. But it's now it's been choice, and that's now here we are going to have to rezone that school. But well, let me make a motion to approve this letter just to get this out of the way, because let me do that first. So I make a motion that we approve the letter as read into the record. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Say aye. Aye. And Stephanie, I cannot figure out the second page, the letterhead, and it looks kind of weird. So I might just send you, if I send you the text, can you put it, we'll work that out. And so we have two.
Yeah, I'll be happy to do that.
The two attachments, the report, and then that letter from June, because and just like the way we attached the letter from June to remind them, by the way, District 2 recommended this expansion to be priority. I don't think it is. So we need to keep reminding them that and why. And so whenever y'all talk again about this next year, you can always refer back to this letter or like Marty said, a presentation or someone else, you know, the bullets. But y'all can figure that one out, even if it's just right before the transfer process in March, or right during it. Like this is, you know, when you see the numbers, and that's what I do. When we do our transfers, I send Kate Darby, because she's, you know, rep from our area and knows we've talked for years about transfer. So I send her the email. We heard transfers. We use this policy for this school, you know, for these three schools. So I laid it out and reasons why. You know, we just rezoned Beckham, Carolina Park, Mount Pleasant Academy. So that communication has been there, but I think it needs to be more, either in a presentation or the whole board gets it, or a sit-down conversation. We do hear the majority of transfer cases in our district. I mean, we're over 300. So I mean, it's not like everyone does it and everyone does it the same. You know, we should be very involved in how this works.
I have a quick question. Carolyn, do you happen to know, as far as the list of capital improvements for the entire district, is there a prioritized list right now? In the last couple of board meetings, I have seen lists, but I don't know if they were in any order.
They're not yet prioritized. So we have the list that was presented. I believe it was this summer, goes through all the projects that are on the table for each constituent district. And that's what's actually listed. I voted today in the
right.
So it's, in the referendum. So it has everything. And then they go through a prioritized process as they actually start to firm up what's going to happen in the next couple of years.
Okay. And when will that start taking place, that process?
I think it's after the election in the spring. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Any more questions or comments about that letter? Let's move on. Well, so I guess we were kind of just sort of board reports, district reports, and anyone have anything to report on, anything they've been involved with? I said this before, we don't go into the schools like we used to because of COVID, so we don't know events to post, to talk about. Carolyn, was there anything else in district reports?
I would say only that schools right now are surveying temporary remote families to figure out if they want to remain temporary remote or if there's room in the school to have more students come back in person for November 11th, which is the beginning of the second quarter. Okay. Where possible, we have a large number of students coming back in person. We're trying to consolidate regional instruction, consolidate virtual instruction regionally. So that may be an option, given now we're starting to get down to smaller numbers in particular schools, but it really does vary by school. So that I think is one key priority. The board is looking at a calendar revision, which they started the conversation on, to allow at least once a month one of these virtual learning days like we had on Friday, given relative to other districts that are doing hybrid models or anything. We want to be sensitive to the fact that our teachers are balancing a lot when they're teaching in dual modes. So that's going to allow us a little bit of planning time and honestly, hopefully space for families, particularly for families who are learning remotely. It has been a big burden, and I think we're still trying to get to a point where we can make sure those kids are on track academically and what the right balance is of screen time instruction and screen time work. Those are really the big things that the board is taking on right now, unless folks have questions.
When you were talking about more kids going back and consolidating, so does that mean, I'm trying to make sure I have the right terminology, temporary remote, so they could go to Virtual Academy, or would it be, how do you consolidate regionally? Does that mean go to Virtual Academy, or you just get
it means that in essence, like I'll pick on the Carolina Park sort of area, like if we've got a small enough group between Laurel, Hale, Pinckney, and Carolina Park in the second grade, say, we would consolidate into one second grade virtual class, and the teacher would come from one of those schools. And it might be the same with a different school giving up a third grade teacher, that kind of thing. Yeah. Because that way, we want to get to the point where teachers are able to focus primarily in person or primarily, if not solely, virtually. And so as the numbers shift, that's our aim.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So the idea is November 11th, which is the second quarter. Basically, anyone who's left who wants to go in can go in, and then after that,
as long as we have space. What's that?
If you don't go in on November 11th, you're committing to another quarter of virtual.
That's right. And we're primarily surveying those virtual folks. And the only limiting factor, and it does affect, I think, this community, is some of the buildings are very close to their safe COVID capacity. So they're trying very hard to expand that. But as you may know, there are some places where even though parents may want their children to come back in person, certain grade levels are full or close to full, given the size of classrooms and other constraints. So that's one issue that's out there still. But the idea is that they would have one more transfer point at the end of the first semester or second quarter. And then our hope is that we remain stable for the rest of the year unless there's a dramatic shift in virus at that point.
Okay. So on the one sheets that we got for the 5 sheets that we got for the 12-day numbers, total enrollment was the first column. Then it said safe seating capacity. I thought just forgive this if it seems like backwards, but I thought originally safe seat capacity was less than originally than the total enrollment of capacity for a regular school. So in other words, I guess I'm surprised some of these safe seating capacities seem a lot like those numbers are fairly high, when I thought that they would be a percentage off lower than a regular capacity for the school.
So it's very much was an operations decision on square foot for classroom. So it was a straight up math problem, like how much space do we need in order to have kids separated by 6 square feet, and what does that mean? So when we actually end up translating into real COVID capacity, there are some anomalies between those numbers and what we're actually able to fit, particularly in schools like middle and high school where the kids are bigger. So the ability to actually separate the desk wasn't as easy, or traffic patterns. Now, more and more in places like Beckham and the middle schools, as well as Mondo, we're transitioning some common spaces to be places where kids can also learn. So that's bringing us closer to that. But I think that was one of the limits of the safe building capacity. Like that was looking at the square footage of the school and doing the math based on the assumption of 6 square feet.
Right, you're right. So it's more like the high schools have you see the safe seating capacity for the high schools goes down dramatically compared to most of the other schools.
That's right. And then when actually putting kids in, there's some classroom spaces that are just smaller than others, and it's particularly in some of the buildings that are older. So that just gives us less wiggle room within individual instructional spaces.
Right. Okay, great.
Have any other questions?
Out of curiosity, is this is this a plan that's being evaluated for 1 to 2 plus years? I mean, I think we all want to believe that the pandemic is going to end soon, but if anything, we realized that 2 weeks and then 4 weeks and then 6 weeks and then 12 weeks was not a sufficient amount of time. Are there any long-term plans in place that are kind of currently being evaluated? If this is, a new normal, is that accelerated or adjusted any of the evaluations for additional spaces and capacity expansions?
It has, from the perspective of trying to do the assessment of whether we can find other spaces. So I think one of the things, for example, I think Carrier is in this situation where it's very close to at capacity, given the classroom size, and some of it's also a program model where they have larger than typical core classes so that they could offer a range of electives, which meant that they would have a sort of a baseline class size of 30, which is just hard. You can't fit that in. So we're already doing overflow rooms just to do safe building. So the question is, like, if we wanted all the kids at Carrier to be able to come back in person, what are our options? I think this year principals and parents have not wanted to do another facility, but I think that's something we're just exploring. Like, what would it take if we ended up on a longer term horizon on this, where more parents wanted it in person? And I think the other question is we're putting in place, as we did share, and I should have mentioned this, thank you for the question. We got our initial MAP test results back, which is the diagnostic assessment of how the district is doing overall. In general, on the younger grades, we saw greater declines from where we've been in previous years, so we're going the wrong way. Now, reading did so to a lesser extent than mathematics. And older grades maintain their learning, and there is a big difference among different schools, as you would expect. So unfortunately, some of the schools where kids are further behind tended to fall even more behind. So I think one of our challenges is how do we catch kids up? So I think the other place we're putting a lot of energy into is can we do some summer programs that are really accelerating instruction? Think about high dosage tutoring through the pod model for some communities, and can we leverage vacation breaks with the support, again, of philanthropic partners and others to really catch kids up in ELA and math particularly.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I definitely imagine that there's some pretty clear lines in terms of attainment and impact and how that's being recognized at various schools. Is there definitely a notice or correlation between, I'm not going to call it specific District 2 schools, but is it along socioeconomic type lines that we're noticing some of those trends, or is there no indication that it's specifically at, Title IX type schools spread out throughout the county?
Yeah, it does break by title. I think you mean Title I schools certainly have greater challenges. I think the real challenge with Title I is that a lot of those families also, the virus disproportionately impacted some communities. So there's a greater fear of sending kids back to school because folks have been sick. So that has also played out, which is why we're trying to institute with the faith community, philanthropic community, and not-for-profit communities, learning pods, but with the idea of, like less than 5 kids, it's a stable group. It's only those kids and an adult. with the idea of limiting exposure to the kids, but also creating social supports as well as academic. I think the challenge is it's still a little bit of a risk for some families who have real multi-generational folks in the household or have medically vulnerable people that are hesitant to do it right now.
Yeah. And I know you just mentioned pods specifically, and I feel like that's a pretty popular concept right now for multiple families that need assistance or, you know, have two working parents or dual income. One of the pieces that I know that we recently experienced was a request to transition a student out of district into a learning pod so that they could create kind of cohesive, tight-knit communities. The only reason I wanted to quickly bring that up was obviously we don't have a real easy ability to ensure that they could design their own pods, especially across schools or, you know, if that's something that you guys are exploring, I'd be really thrilled to hear, just because we got a transfer request hoping to get a student into a specific pod with their, you know, preferred families, I guess. So I'd love to know if that's something that you guys are able to potentially accommodate that we're not able to easily promise or control. You know, we can do a direct placement at a school, but we can't, you know, necessarily plan on them building those pods. And I think that's something that would be really helpful for, you know, maximizing the likelihood of a successful pod, so to speak, is giving them the ability to help coordinate. I know that's going to be a nightmare and challenge, but just something that I know has been brought up to us and from some community members as a big interest, is helping them to get students and families that they're trying to work with and can, you know, kind of coordinate with into the same pod.
Yeah, we're making them, the ones that we're launching are in the Cherokee, Shakora area of North Charleston. And that's our pilot right now. So we're tying it to particular schools so that there wouldn't be the cross, if that makes sense. So you're serving one's area specifically. If we do expand, it would probably be in D9, D23, and D10, I think. Forgive me. And the idea would be based on parent interest, and that might be supported in part by the Tri-County Creative Career effort.
I appreciate it.
I don't know. Yeah. I'm not sure we're doing as much in D2 in part, I think, because we're not seeing the same number of kids at home and the same number of kids with academic gaps.
Sure. And like I said, it was just something that we've noticed, not only in D2, but, you know, I've gotten a few random friends of friends who've been asking just because they're like, oh, I know you're on the constituent board. I'm like, very different from where you are. But at the same time, just wanted to use it as a chance to say there, whether it's D2 or elsewhere, there's definitely seems to be that people that they can depend on, that they're trying to create pods. And I'm interested to see, even if it isn't Chicora or Cherokee, if that's something that you find there too, whether it's a combination of coworkers or, you know, people just on, you know, outside of that exact attendance zone. And I know it's, I guess it's one of those ones that I just wanted to bring up. So I appreciate it and wish you guys good luck in the excitement of trying to design and pilot that. So good luck and thank you.
All right. All right. So I think that we just have a few transfers we need to hold in executive session. So let me go ahead and make a motion. I make a motion that we go into executive session for the purpose of discussing personal student information on our transfer request. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And so Stephanie, tell me, do we move to a different room or what's the next step to go into executive session? Or maybe Stephen or just Terry?
Sarah, I'm going to sign off and just say, I hope to see you again. And Marty, I know I'll see you again. And I'm back in the rotation on the D2 board at some point as a backup. So I'm
All
sure.
right.
So it might even be next week.
So I'm glad to be back.
Thanks.
Come next week, Terry, because I think I have a conflict. So
Yeah, anytime. Good night.
Take care. Good to see you.
All right, so now, how do
I'm
we?
waiting to hear back from Stephen.
Y'all can just be getting your paperwork together. There are 10.
We can just go to a breakout room. Okay, yeah, we're gonna go to a breakout room. Here we go. Marty, you got to go into the breakout room.
Oh,
You got to go
okay.
to the breakout room for executive session.
Gotcha. Thank you. I was looking at something.
Hey, Stephanie, can you get yourself over?
I'm trying to, I think I put, make sure I have the, okay, Stephen did that thing. So now I don't know how I get myself into the breakout room. Usually it takes me automatically.
Um, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to put me back too. I'm annoying.
Okay. Hold on.
I think it's if
I'm
you.
seeing all of his stuff now. Okay.
All right, I can join the breakout room. Does it say breakout rooms at the bottom of your screen that you can join the breakout room? As a share screen, record breakout rooms?
No, because I took myself off of, I don't have breakout rooms.
Who's the host right now?
I made Steven the host. I'm texting him.
Okay. Would it help if you made me the host, Stephanie? Would that, and then I can assign you, and then you
Okay,
can,
wait a minute. Here we go. Maybe it's coming up now.
all right.
more.
Stephanie here?
The only person we're missing is, no, there she is.
Good.
We're
Okay.
back in the live YouTube room. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Everybody's here. All right, so let's go ahead and vote on our transfers, and let's see, who's my backup? Pamela, did you take notes too?
No, because I messed up this time. I'm sorry.
All right, see if it, all right, I'm gonna,
I had
Stephanie,
to write on each one, so.
okay.
back up.
So 400 to 409, I'm just gonna use them, to identify them that way. So for case number 400, I make a motion that we approve the transfer for the current year only. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, and then for 401, I make the motion that we approve with direct placement. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 For 402, I make a motion that we deny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, then for 403, 404, 405, 406, I make a motion that we approve with direct placement. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That brings us to 407. I make a motion that we approve the transfer for the current school year only. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The last one, well, is 408. And I make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Wait, is this the one we're approving for the rest of the year only? Oh, no, wait.
Nuh-uh. Letter from the professional.
Oh, yeah, that's just a straight approval. So,
Okay, all right.
yeah, I got those mixed up too. So 408, I make a motion to approve the transfer request. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And then 409, the board will not hear. Someone remind me the reason. Right, is that right? There was one we didn't need to hear.
Right.
That's correct. If there's some misunderstanding, we'll bring it back to this board.
Okay.
All right, so that concludes transfers. All right, so we need to schedule a hearing for next week. So sorry, Marty, we can't have our joint retirement party. We're gonna be called back in one more time.
Okay. All right.
Stephanie, it's just one case, is that right so far?
Stephanie, you're not mute. You're on mute.
Sorry.
That's
Thank you.
good.
So we do have one discipline case and 2 more hardship transfer requests
All
that
right,
come in today.
so it's gonna have to be next week, I think, because election day is the 3rd, that following week. So
Yeah.
the county board, I think they meet the
Picture for
26th,
Sadie.
so that might be hard for staff.
Oh.
2, 3, 4.
You do it on the Monday. I would just have, I would ask Terry to come probably because she doesn't need to be at the board meeting. I do.
Okay, because we could do Monday, just since that's been our new day of the week, and we might have more people. And what are your calendars looking like for next week?
I can do Monday.
You said yes. for Monday?
26th. We're looking at the 26th.
Yes.
Huh. Let's see. What time are y'all thinking?
6 o'clock? You want to do it?
Yeah. Yeah, I can do it. I can do it at 6. Yeah.
Trey,
Trey, what can you do?
Sorry, trying to look.
It's like the Blair Witch Project.
Night. Let's see. Mm.
So we're thinking 6 o'clock Monday. Stephanie, you able to do that?
Yep.
Carolyn, you said you might get Terry. Yeah, we got to bring Terry back in, right?
She's assigned. She's my sub. But I will ask her. And I think it's a committee of the whole, so we might be done early too. So if so, I'll join. But
Yeah, with whichever day earlier works better for me. So
It's next Monday.
yeah,
So
Monday
5
works.
o'clock for anyone, or is it
So
6
what
o'clock?
is earlier for you? What is
I
that?
can do 5, but I don't know if that's going to be too difficult for the committee of the whole thing.
Harry doesn't have to go to that, so she can. I think you can schedule it, and we'll work around it.
Okay, I can do 5. Sarah, can you do 5?
I can do 5. What about Marty? You were looking at.
Yeah, I can do. I can do 5. I might be coming in on skates, but I'll be doing. I can do 5.
Nice way to kind of skate out to Miss Beth.
Inline skates or inline
That's it.
skates or regular roller skates?
Oh, honey. Are you kidding me? Probably neither one.
It's a metaphorical skate.
I can't skate. I can ice skate for some reason. I
Oh,
can't do anything. I know, and that's strange.
yeah.
I know, that's weird.
So
Of
5
course, I
o'clock.
haven't done that in years, so who knows?
All right, so 5 o'clock, Monday the 26th.
The 26th.
Yeah.
So called.
Stephanie, and we haven't done we did some readmits very late into the night, and I take responsibility for half of it because I had technical difficulties. But the other part was the families didn't have audio, and we had to get on the phone. Is there any way to have a prep beforehand to make sure they're connected and have audio? You remember we had to
Sure.
get phones out, and it just took a really long time.
Right. I'll partner with Toshiba and see what they're doing in other districts for that.
Like a mic check or something, or audio.
Right. And figure out if we give better direction and instruction when we let them know of the hearing and that sort of thing.
Okay, so then we haven't done a regular discipline here, right? On Zoom with
On Zoom yet, no.
The school administrator and all. So I think 5 o'clock will help them too, doing a little bit earlier. All right.
May also have another transfer revocation request.
For the same night, and we can do that next week.
Possibly, yeah. It's in process. So.
Okay.
Oh, good. Well, let's see if we can get it done then.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Anything else before we see each other next week? All right. I will make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Bye-bye.
I am back.
Have a good night.
I'll let you all know if I get a write-in confirmation for IOP.
Or if
Okay.
you find someone, I'm interested to know who's going to be giving me a big challenge.
Is
Why
this
do you
all
ha-
right
is-
for you?
It's
Really?
almost impossible to win a write-in in a district-wide, with one candidate, because most people are going to vote. You're trying to
It
get
would
out
be-
of it.
Yeah, I really didn't anticipate that the whole district was voting on me. So I've been getting messages, from everyone. They were like, oh, hey, didn't realize that I could vote for you. And I was like, you don't have to, but you can.
No, you say yes, you can.
I was like, okay, great. Now it'd be even worse if I lose.
Do you know if somebody is going to write in? Have you heard?
No.
I haven't heard. I haven't heard either, and I've told people you're running.
Well, I am. The ballot says so.
Oh,
I was
okay.
just curious when if you guys had heard something through the grapevines that I hadn't earlier.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna say I don't want to be this embarrassed.
All right. The meeting's over. We're
Bye, guys.
still live.
Okay.
See y'all later.
All
See y'all
right.
in a week.
Yeah. Okay. Bye.
All right.
Everybody have a good week.
See you, Marty.
Hey. I hit